Welcome back to the podcast, the Rich20Something Podcast. I'm here with my friend Joel Brown of Addicted to Success.
Yep.
How you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having
You
me.
flew in from, are you in Melbourne or Sydney?
No, man. Okay, so I was born in Perth, Western Australia, but I live in Bali, Indonesia.
Oh,
right
you
now.
live in Indonesia now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you flew in just to be here and a couple other places.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Right? And so for those of you who don't know Joel's face, you've probably seen Addicted to Success, which is his brand, and it's a huge website. I think it's one of those websites. How long is it? How many years have you been around?
It's been around for nearly 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those websites that you probably have seen an article from. You've seen the logo, or you've seen some sort of graphic, and so you know it exists in the back of your mind. And if I were to show you the site, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know Addicted to Success."
That's good.
Right? That's exactly what we want. So you just caught us having this conversation, and I guess Cameron can edit this back in, but we're talking about what it really means to create good content and like kind of the underlying philosophy of creating a business that you care about, right?
Yes.
So can you just walk us through the beginning stages of when Addicted to Success was just an idea, and then how you eventually breathed life into it?
Yeah. Okay. So
Be as detailed as possible.
be as detailed as possible. All right. So it actually, so five years back,
How old are you now?
I'm 28.
Okay.
28 years old.
27.
Yeah. So we're still young bucks, man.
Still young guys.
We got time to kill it. Yeah. So yeah, 5 years ago, I was working in a sales job, and the CEO of the company, the founder of the company, actually decided to bring someone in to teach us about sales.
Okay.
And that person happened to be Jordan Belfort, who's
Oh,
considered the Wolf of
wow.
Wall Street, right?
I don't know whether to like him or hate him. He lives around here.
Look, man, he's talented at what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like back in the day, his ethics were all off. He's turned his life around now, as you can see, from
Legally, he's had to.
But look, man, this is the thing. Like, that movie was very exaggerated.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as that. It was pretty crazy, though. But look, he's a great salesman. He's a great coach. He has a lot of amazing advice. He's done well, with his book and everything else that he inks. So you can't take that away from him, And I remember sitting in the room, and I had written goals and things out when I was younger in school, but it was just like super basic stuff, and there was no accountability or anything like that. It's like, set your goals for the future ahead, and that's it. I was sitting in the room with Jordan, and he asked me, do you have goals? I was like, oh, no, not really. And he said, okay, that's great. He said, I don't either. He said, I have a vision. He said, visions are more powerful. Goals are good for short-term achievements, but you want a vision. You want to cast that vision. And if you're thinking big, you want to think bigger, all right? And he kind of walked us through the steps of, like, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, how you're going to get there, and really feeling it in your body, right? Really visualizing it and taking yourself to a place of actually being there before it actually happens. And I thought it was really cool. I was reading Tony Robbins' books, Brian Tracy, T.R. Becker, a number of other books as well at the time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and so on. And yeah, I was like, this is cool, man. This is like a whole new world that I was open up to. I used to be in the music industry before this sales job, and that's a whole other thing altogether. But this industry of self-development and self-growth and learning and growing, man, that really excited me. So what he was explaining to us was that, you can excel in life when you discover what you're passionate about and also what you're good at. And he challenged us to really find what are those two things. And, at that time I was really excited about self-development, and I was really good at computers. Like, I just press all the buttons and work stuff out. I was pretty tech savvy. So I was like, man, maybe there's some other people out there in the world that likes this stuff like I do, and maybe this could be a way for me to connect with them. And then when I started looking into it deeper, I started with WordPress, and I fired it up and had like this super simple theme, and started putting up the articles about the millionaires and the billionaires, and
You were writing the articles, right?
No, actually, man, a lot of it was kind of like repurposed. So it was like a video, but then I'd like transcribe some of what the message was.
Some rapper content around it.
Yeah, it was hey, man, I never saw myself as a writer. I got like D's in school for English, and I actually I didn't have the belief that I could write. And so this is early stages, and put this site together, and I found that there was this like formula behind it that people wanted to feel inspired. They wanted to feel hopeful that there was something better to look forward to in their life. And that's when a lot of people at my workplace was actually seeing what was going on. They're like, oh, that's cool. Is that your site? And I decided to start delving in it a lot more. And I found that there were bloggers out there that were making 20 grand a month, 30 grand a month, like John Chow. And I looked up to like Pete Cashmore,
That's
who
the
started
old school stuff, man.
Old school, man. Old school.
Yeah.
So, and I found that there was no real other kind of like hub spot for self-development at that time, like 5 years back, and there's like entrepreneur.com, Business Insider. They were like kind of mass media doing the
That's like an
high-level
eternity
magazine
in internet
stuff.
space, though. 5 years ago, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right. So I ran with it, man. I was like, I'm gonna do 2 articles a day. At one point, I was doing like 3 articles a day. I was just growing it with the intention of, man, I could make money from this, like John Chow and Pete Cashmore and all that. So it was very money driven at the start. Like money was my motivation. But it's funny when I started to realize that the content I was sharing was changing people's lives, and it was getting them in a more positive place, and they're becoming more hopeful. I was like, wow. I started to develop this kind of sense of responsibility. And, I put the share bars on the site, and, the traffic started racking up. And it was about a year in when I decided to start implementing Google AdSense ads. Because I had read from a number of like professional bloggers, people that were killing it at that time, that you shouldn't just plaster your site with ads to begin with, because it's going to drive traffic away. Yeah. And I was really focused on, I read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crush It, which really accelerated my whole business development process, because he was talking about, really focusing on community. So that's what I did. I was like, I'm going to focus on community, and I'm going to focus on quality and consistency. And there were 3 areas, and I've been doing that ever since. So that's why we just keep growing and growing and growing and reaching the masses.
I feel like AdSense is really hard to make money with. You have to have a lot of traffic to make money with AdSense. Yeah. Like a lot. So you guys are in the millions per month. You have to be, at least, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, at one point, we're ranking for make money online, or make money in that, like the keyword, and we're getting 3.5 million views a month.
That's crazy.
And most of it, like 60% of that was organic. But obviously, people came in and skyscraped it, which means like, they created articles with even more length and more depth. And I didn't understand that game back then. I was just like, I just want to write cool articles and share it, so.
I think people look at this stuff and they're like, oh man, okay, so Joel said that what he did was he did 3 articles a day. He took some videos, he wrote some, and I think like, people try to copy your exact thing and it won't work. And they'll be like, why didn't it work? I did exactly what he said. I think more kind of the takeaway is, okay, figure out what you want to, if it is blogging, figure out what you want to talk about, what type of community you want to build, and then like really nurture that community. It's not like someone can follow your exact advice, but because it's different time, different place, and internet moves so fast, if they were to repeat that, it wouldn't happen the same way for them.
Yeah, you're right.
And so that's one thing I think people get frustrated at, because people ask me a lot about, oh, well, how do I build an email list? And I'm like, well, I'll tell you how I did it, and it might work for you, but if it doesn't, don't get frustrated. Do your own thing too.
Yes.
Yes. There are there's an unlimited amount of avenues for you to build a community online, and there's an unlimited amount of avenues for you to like have an impact. But usually, if you copy someone else directly, it doesn't work. Yeah.
I agree 100%.
So if you had to start Addicted to Success over again, would you use the same strategy? I don't think it would work nowadays, would it? 3 articles a day.
Look, we were lucky. Yeah. Look, man, I'm definitely blessed to be, at a point now where I can see how much it's grown, and knowing that we got in at a really good time. Yeah. 5 years ago, no one was doing it, man. Like no one was doing the picture quote stuff. I was creating picture quotes. That was like I was hustling myself, like creating these like 100 article picture quotes and everything, man, and sharing them, and obviously people saw it was working.
That was before we were so big on Instagram. I mean, was Instagram even around 5 years ago? No?
Instagram, there's so many picture quote accounts on Instagram. They're just like, they've murdered it now. Actually, I feel like it devalues the picture quotes.
It does. Well, people like to consume it, but it's not as impactful because there's so many of them. Yeah. But that's I mean, there's so how would you go about doing it nowadays? How would you start to think about building this community over again? If you had to start from zero, what would you do?
Oh man, that's a great question. It's different. No. Look, it's always quality and consistency. Like I get people that interview me a lot, man. They ask me what's the secret key to success and all that stuff, and I'm just like, dude, it's like super unsexy.
Yeah, it's not
sexy. It's consistency.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
sexy.
Consistency, man. It's swinging that axe at that tree each and every day. It's like you go out to a tree. If you take one big hit, you can't expect that big tree to fall down. You got to go out there every day to sharpen the soil. You got to keep swinging that axe, man. And eventually, one day it'll fall down. Yeah. And that's like kind of, I understood that a long time ago when I started A2S. And it's just, you have to adapt, you know, especially like you were saying before, like that was an eternity ago, you know, a long time ago, 5 years ago. Yeah, it's true, man. Like we had to adapt. We had to keep, like I brought the podcast out last year, like about a year back. And it's great because we leverage off the platform that was already so huge to then for me to be able to reach out to people like Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra, T. Harv Eker, Simon Sinek, Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, like all these amazing people. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have that platform.
Right.
So yeah, having a big platform really helps. One thing I would do differently is I feel like I kind of hid behind the brand for a long time. So I've really started stepping out in the last maybe 14, 15 months with my own personal brand.
Yeah.
You know, because I create a lot, man. I got to the point where like, you know, maybe a year in, when I started monetizing on the site, I started writing ebooks and I started writing articles on my site. And I was like, man, I actually enjoy this. And the thing is, what's funny is because I had that whole belief of like, oh, you know, I was a D grade, you know, English student and that, like, I'm not a good writer. It actually worked in my favor because I would write articles that are very simple, very straightforward, very easy to understand. I'd like have an understanding of a complex teaching and then like simplify it and then share that.
That's easier for me to read. That's fine.
And it worked.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It's actually better.
Yeah.
One thing I'm focusing on right now is, I guess, I was going to say I haven't told a lot of people this, but I guess I am now. I'm really making a hard transition to YouTube over the next year in 2016 because I feel like the possibility for reach. I mean, obviously, like A2S already has that traffic, and it's not really going to go down. I mean, over time it will be affected. It will go up and down depending on what happens. But like, in terms of where the most impact is, I feel like YouTube, if done well, is the place.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I don't know if you've been driving around here. I don't know if you noticed this, but there are billboards in LA with YouTube channels with the subscriber numbers. Yeah. They're like, you know, like what are some of the, like Jenna Marbles, 17 million subscribers and counting. I'm like, really? She has her own billboard? So, and I just feel like the YouTube channels now, good YouTube channels get more views than a network television show will get.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where content is headed. Are you planning to do anything with that?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah?
Shooting videos, man. It's consistency too, because the more videos you put out, you're creating more doorways for people to find more and more of your content.
Yeah.
Right? But this is the thing, and I was actually at Ty Lopez's house a couple of days back, and we were talking about this because Gary and Ty Lopez were like really focusing hard on videos, man. You see how they're blowing their brand up.
Here in my garage has like 76 million views. We just talked about him on the last podcast.
Massive numbers, man. Yeah. Massive numbers.
Every podcast so far. Unintentionally, though. So that just proves the point that what he's doing is working.
Impact, man. Impact. So, yeah, we were talking about YouTube, and he was saying that he's like, I focus on minutes watched. And focus on views, because views don't mean too much now. Like, people can pop it open and close it off.
Yeah.
So he really wants like mass appeal, Oprah Winfrey reach. Like it's a minutes watch, man. And what's cool is he's got 14-year-old kids reading books.
Yeah.
You know, he's found a way to make self-development sexy, and that's awesome, man. Like, more power to him. That's awesome.
I think that I think that there's like a really unique power in being able to take an idea that's already been talked about a lot and refresh it enough where people are re-interested in it.
Yeah, you're right.
Because like even with the picture quote stuff, none of that shit's new. It's all like Mark Twain's quote with like a background of a waterfall and then it like with a filter over it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not new, but you can take an existing piece of information and turn it so that someone says, "Huh, never thought about it that way."
But how's this, man? Like when you're shooting a video, you have way more room to move than working just with like a picture quote.
For sure.
Like there's so much more you can do with a video, and that's what's like really interesting about it. That's what I find fascinating. But the thing is, like what I find as well is that you have to be good with storytelling. It needs to flow. Like I've started shooting videos. So I used to kind of just be like, hey, what's up, blah, 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 on the spot, right? And actually I'm practicing so much that I want to be authentic on video, man. I want it to just be like, hey, this is how I am. If you stumble on words, it doesn't matter, man. People relate to that. And that's really important. It's not about having the perfect one. I've been periscoping a little bit lately. Yeah. I did a couple of sessions yesterday, and been doing quite a bit, man. So that's a good way to get into practice with it. but it's also kind of like taking some shots of the actual, scenery that you're in, and taking like another angle and all that.
Yeah.
Like all those things kind of like draw a better picture. So some people that are watching it feel like they're actually there with you.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. You want to draw people into actually feeling like they're in that moment with you, and that's how they have that emotional connection to what you're saying.
The video is a doorway. I was talking to, I don't know if you know Ruben from Think Grow Prosper on Instagram.
Yeah. I think he's like with the
the
Motivation Mafia guys and all that. Yeah,
a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, super awesome guy. And he's like on Instagram, he's the king of motivational quotes.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like feel good motivational quotes, he's really good at it. But what we're talking about is like motivational quotes and picture quotes are good and at getting people inspired, but like it's not necessarily like rich content in that, like, yes, it's a great like little snack, but a video that you can create, like you said, you can put it on Facebook, you can put it on YouTube, you can make you can transcribe the video, make it into an article, you can there's like so many things you can do with it. And I think outside of like the direct monetization aspect, like, because that some of these YouTubers are making millions off of just the ads that are running in front of their videos,
for sure, before
and after. But outside of just the money they're making off the ads, the opportunities that come with having a huge following on a platform like YouTube, big,
massive, man. They're like movie stars.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. People start calling you.
Yeah, that's it. I thought about this recently because I've been bringing courses out. I got my morning motivation course. Got another one that's coming out with a blogging course and everything. Right, this is like a little plug there. And the way I had to look at it was like, people don't buy from a brand, they buy from somebody else. So if I haven't been putting myself out, Joel Brown, like I might create great content, but if it's just like always through the site, it's through the brand, that's all people are seeing. And most people don't scroll all the way to the bottom and see who the author was of the article, right? So it's like really stepping out. And when you're putting those courses out, people are going to buy it because it's you're human. They can interact with you, they can engage with you, and it goes back to community as well. Like if entrepreneur.com brought out a course, I wouldn't buy that from them. Yeah. But if the founder of entrepreneur.com, or if Mark Cuban and somebody else from entrepreneur.com created a course, I'd sign up. Yeah. It's just how it is. So
that makes perfect sense. I mean, I think there's a good balance between, like, I think sometimes also having a brand that's too much of a personal brand can also be a bottleneck, because then you can't have other people help you on the front face of it.
You're right. You ask for favors all the time.
Yeah,
you try and build and connect all the time.
Or you want to run a webinar, and only you can do it because you are the guy and you are the face of the brand. So there's things like that. But thinking about being the face of the brand and then running Addicted to Success, how do you manage your time? What does your day look like? I mean, are you really doing like the whole, I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, I wake up in the morning, I have my espresso, I meditate, I go hike in the Himalayas, and then I come back, I read 3 hours of Tim Ferriss, and then I go to bed at 6 to get my 14 hours of rest. Like what's your day look like?
I love that. Well, yeah, it's kind of like that, man.
It's kind of similar. Very similar. Yeah. Just 2 hours of Tim Ferriss though.
Yeah. So to give you an idea of how my day is, a typical day in my life, I start my morning, and I actually learned this from Robin Sharma. Met him at one of the events recently, and he does a 20-20-20. I've done a lot of different morning rituals, and I'm really big on daily habits. I coach a lot of people on habits, right? And one that he shared with me was the 20-20-20, and I've tried a lot of them, but this one actually works really well with my lifestyle. It might not work for everybody. It works really well with my type of lifestyle, where you wake up in the morning. For the first 20 minutes is exercise. So it's like skipping or push-ups or going for a jog or something. Just something that you can do kind of around your house or your spot. You don't have to go to the gym for it unless you have like your own in-home gym if you're bowling. And then after that, and the reason why I do that is it actually activates the prefrontal cortex. You get oxygen in, you get the blood flowing. Then what I do is I sit down and I boil the kettle and have a hot water. I always start my day with that hot water. It kind of like flushes your system out. It wakes up your digestive system. It gets everything going, heats everything up. So I do that, and I sit and I do 20 minutes of self-development because my brain's switched on now, right? And within the first hour of the morning, it's like when your brain's cycling at a certain percentage per second or whatever it is, right? That's when your mind is most influential. So whatever you put into it, that's going to affect your day, right? So it's like sitting there doing 20 minutes of self-development, which could be like reading a book or like, sitting there taking notes, listening to audio or watching a speech or something like that. Something with value in it that I can actually, learn from. And then after that, I would do 20 minutes of meditation, and I do transcendental meditation. And I swear by it, man. It's like, it's a game changer, a complete game changer, because it just improves your mental clarity. You get way better sleep. It's really hard to explain. There's like hundreds of benefits for meditation, but it's hard to explain to somebody that's never meditated because they don't understand it. And I used to be that guy that was like, I don't have time for meditation.
I got to get to work.
If you feel like you don't have time for meditation, you have to meditate. That's the point. Yeah, it's funny, man. It's really funny. I never used to understand that, but it's so true. And we got Alex Eccles over here, who went and did like Vipassana, and the whole like retreat of however many days it was, that's like 2 weeks or 10 days or something. It's crazy. So, and like that experience, man, you just unlock the parts that you never allowed to unlock before. These dormant things, and it's amazing, man. It's like sitting there after doing some self-development and then meditating, man. I feel sometimes like I want to jump out of meditation because I have these amazing big ideas and all these things start triggering off. What you do is you allow the mind to just settle, and then like the negative thoughts and the positive to kind of arise, and then like do what they need to do. So do that. Sometimes then after I might do like a breathing exercise. It's like quick breathing. Actually, Tony Robbins does that. It's something I learned. And the way that I kind of look at it is, I was speaking to Deepak Chopra after our interview, and I didn't quite understand the whole breathing thing. I saw a lot of people getting into it, and I asked him, so he mentioned it in the interview, and he said like basically the mind is like a kite, and when you do your breathing exercises, it's like bringing that air underneath that kite to give it lift. It like elevates your mind. And when he said that, I was like, I get it. So I did that, and it's great. I don't feel like I need to do it every day, but sometimes I do. If I just kind of like, I'm buzzing a bit too much and can't focus. And then, just some visualization sometimes. That's it, man. That's pretty much an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour, and then I get into my day. I might go to the gym. I follow up with emails. I write an article. I sit down and write my book. Actually, writing my book, I go and try and plug into nature, and I'll have my iPhone out, and I'll press record on the voice recorder, and I'll just flow, man. I just start like, let's say I just pick a topic like...
You're like rapping into the...
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly, just kind of like freestyling into the mic. And it's funny because the first 10 minutes is just like gobbledygook. It's just like waffle. That doesn't make any sense.
But then it starts flowing.
But then you start to build structure, and you start kind of like branching off sub-branches of things you say, and you start building concepts. I really want my book to be something that's like memorable. It's something that's unique. And when I think about a book, it's a sacred thing. When you walk into a bookstore, it's like a temple. And a lot of people don't really treat it that way. They just like, they make it more of a marketing tool, or they just write a book full of somebody else's quotes. And I came here to be remembered, man. I want to leave a legacy. I'm in it for the long game. So
I think one thing I really respect, and I think about when I go into a bookstore, is I thought, man, every single person that's created a book that's now in this store, one has overcome some sort of obstacle, most likely, and they put the solution or their experience in these pages for us to look at and to help us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And two, anyone who thinks they can't write a book, there's like, you walk into the bookstore, it might be hard to get a book in the store, but how hard really is it? Because there's like at least 200,000 books in the store, so other people have figured it out.
Yes.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of processes out there. There's some people who don't even actually write. They don't even put pen to paper. They just like record it, and then they get someone to transcribe it, and then compile it together. There's a lot of different things you can do.
Yeah.
Especially with like an editing team and that. Like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just the idea that like probably everything you need to know, someone already figured out. Yeah. And it's there for you to read that. Even like. Even people who are wondering, what are successful entrepreneurs doing when they're waking up? Well, we're having this conversation right now. Someone can watch this and be like, oh, I don't have to like struggle to figure this out. Maybe I'll just try what Joel said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that like a lot of young people spend an inordinate amount of time, like brainstorming but not actually do anything. Like, they'll I guess they'll do almost like thought experiments, right? Where they'll be like, well, I could try this. What about that? And they'll be, well, I should start a business on this. Well, here are the bad things about that. Well, maybe I'll do something on this. And they'll spend all this time out reading blogs and
analysis paralysis,
reading blogs, listening to podcasts endlessly, watching YouTube videos. But all that has really amounted to like pretty much zero action.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the answers are there. So just take what you read, watch, or listen to, and then go do that thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they cognitively understand it, which is all good, but that just goes to crap if they're not putting it into action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole idea of like, I need to do more research. No, you've done enough research. Like
getting ready to get ready.
Yeah, get ready.
Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be in place.
It's not going to be.
And then when they go and do it, it most probably isn't going to work out anyway because they were holding it too tight. Which goes back to what we were saying at the start of the interview or before. Is like the whole, you got to have that kind of abundance mindset that, this is going to be easy. Like, let's make this easy. Let's make it fun. I think that's important is you whatever you're doing, you want it to be somewhat fun. There's got to be a little bit of fun to it. Like, even if it's hard work, you got to like kind of look at it in a fun way. Like this, dude, life is so short. While you're here and you're offering something to the world, why not enjoy the process as well? You got to fall in love with the process. It's hard though sometimes because you have like real world shit you go through. Like, you're fighting with your girlfriend or you have a family member who gets sick or something bad happens at work. It's like hard to focus on the good things when you have like real world bad shit. Yep. Because like you have this vision of this business that you want to start, but it's not really working out how you want it to work out. So like that thing's just a vision right now. It's not real. But then in real life, you have shit happening to you. Yeah.
So how do you stay positive when you have this shit happening to you?
Get good at relationships, man.
Yeah.
Because everything's relationships.
Oh, that sounds easy. Yeah, let me just go ahead and get good at relationships.
Look, dude,
easy done.
Life is relationships, man. Your relationship with money, your relationship with your spouse, relationship with your friends, everything, man. Like, if you can get good at that, and this is the thing, not very many people put the effort in to learn about relationships. Like, it's all good for me wanting to self-develop and listen to Tony Robbins and a bunch of other people. But if I'm not improving my relationships, then my business can't go so far. Yeah. Like your business grows to the extent that you do, right? Like if I'm having a terrible relationship with my wife, if we're just like feel like we're falling apart, I feel like everything else is falling apart too. It's affecting my performance, man. I'm in a crappy mood. I'm not performing well on podcast interviews. I don't feel like reaching out to my friends and networking.
That's a great point.
It's like it starts very close to home, and that's why it's really important to get good at relationships, man. It's something that I learned only recently, man. This is all like this past year has been a massive like learning curve, and one of the biggest things is really just like, I think you kind of get a little bit too comfortable sometimes with relationships. You feel like, easy come, easy go. Like, it's all good. Or now we're married. Or now, we've been together for a few years. And nah, man, that's when you put in more effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's communicating. I
think it's like snapping beings. Out of the, like, because you get into this, even if you're doing something that you love, you get into this, like, automaton phase where you're like, I'm just a robot. I'm just operating. Like, Addicted to Success is running. And
acts.
I'm married and the money is coming and it is all working. And then like you can go down, like you can go underwater for like 2 or 3 years. And like when you come back up, your relationship's not where you want to be. The business is just doing okay, but like it's not matching your vision.
Yes.
It's kind of just like just surviving.
Yeah.
And I think so like, I think it's important and I'm guilty of this. I'm not saying that I always do this, but it's important to like, wake up. Like let's be actively engaged in today. So like simple things like I noticed that this week I've been working a lot. I've been staying we have like a co-working space that I work out of, and I've been staying there until like 8 or 9 o'clock sometimes. And I have to be cognizant, like, okay, I can stay there till 9 o'clock, but that does affect my relationship with Sarah, right? Like I'll come home at 9 and I'll know that now we have not spent that time together. And there's like a cumulative buildup where if I don't address that, that's going to become a bigger issue later. I can't just do that and get away with it. Like I can't. It's not like free. I don't get to just do that. Like if I'm going to stay there till 9, okay, I made the decision, but I need to be like, hey babe, like what should we do this weekend or for the next few days to make sure we feel connected? Because I can't just be like, sorry, had to work. Sorry about that. Like and I can't just be like, hey mom, sorry I haven't talked to you in 2.5 weeks. I mean, I could. I think probably my girlfriend's a bigger issue than my mom, but I think my mom cares less. But you know what I'm saying? Like you have to be like, if you want to really live a good life, you have to like, be aware of these things.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, you're almost taking out loans, man.
Yeah.
You do it, only so much, and next thing you got to pay it back.
It's like a bank. It's like a
have to.
deposit and withdraw.
Yeah,
right. And
definitely.
you can build up a certain amount of credit. Like if you're really good for a while, you can build up some like credit in the bank.
If you're good at communicating and making people feel like, yeah, it's all good, I'm here. Yeah, communication is a huge thing. And you said before connection, and that's the biggest thing. Like in your relationships, if you're having problems in your business, the first thing to focus on is not trying to communicate it. And going, oh, like, let's talk about this and this and that. It's about connecting.
Yeah.
It's seeing eye to eye and actually really being connected with that person, whether it's like physically or whatever. Like I'm talking about like mostly relationships.
Yeah.
But actually focusing on connecting again with that person before you go to the stage of communication and then trying to rebuild whatever's going on or to switch things up in your business. And it's connecting. So yeah, it's a huge thing, man. It's a huge thing.
Sometimes just talking sometimes just informing people of your decision is enough. So for instance, like let's say my decision is I'm gonna have to stay late because I gotta work on some email launch stuff, whatever. I gotta work on some stuff. So I could stay late and not communicate that I'm gonna do that. Like, well, I'm staying till 9. I'm a grown man. I can do whatever I want. I'm gonna stay because I gotta do this thing. Or I could say at 6:30, hey babe, I think I'm gonna need to do this extra thing, but here's what I'm doing. Here's what's gonna happen, and also how's your day going? Just even though I still have to stay late to work on this thing, taking the time out to acknowledge that I'm telling her, hey, this is what I need to do. I acknowledge I'm going to be home a little bit late, and let's also find some time for us later. Just acknowledging that, even though I'm not changing my decision, I'm acknowledging that I know this is affecting her.
Yeah.
I'm laughing in my head too because I was talking to one of my other friends today, and I don't know if you know the Bulletproof conference is in LA.
Yeah. I just heard that it was here. Yeah.
It's here this weekend. So he's like, hey, you should come out to Pasadena. We'll go to the conference together. I'm like, oh, sure. Sarah's never been out to Pasadena. We can make a date out of it. He's like, man, it's always about her. It's always centered around her. I'm like, you don't understand. like, we've been together 5 years now. Like, yeah, it is pretty much always about her. Like, I'm always like, is she comfortable? Is the air conditioning too chilly? Is she going to be okay?
Man, you got to look out for her. Yeah, that's how it is, man.
How long have you been married for?
Dude, 3 months.
Congrats.
Or 3.5 months. Yeah,
congratulations. And how long together?
About 5 years.
Oh, you've been married then. You've been married for 5 years then.
Yeah. So, we're doing good, man.
Did you guys go on a honeymoon?
It's funny because we got married in Positano in Italy, right?
Nice.
It was beautiful on the Amalfi Coast there. It was epic, actually.
That's a very lifestyle entrepreneur wedding.
And then we traveled through Europe and went hiking in Switzerland and went to like all through Italy and everywhere, right? And then she's going around telling everybody, oh, this is a mini moon. This isn't the actual honeymoon. It's a mini moon. And anyway,
so frustrating. Because Matt is like clenching his fist. No, this is the honeymoon.
She's calling me out on this because she's like, remember when we were talking about having our honeymoon, you said that you wanted to be on like a tropical island. I'm like, yeah, but we're moving out to Bali. She's like, no, I mean like Bora Bora or like Maldives.
So angering. It doesn't count, like sometimes I'll have to ask my girlfriend, I'm like, so we're watching the movie together, but we're not talking. I'd be like, does this count as together time? Because I thought that this was together time.
Oh, yes.
But if you're not talking...
You have to tell them it's you say, this is quality time right now. I'm enjoying this quality time right now.
This QT is really hitting the spot. I love it.
Yeah. If you don't say it, man, they're like, we didn't have quality time.
Like, we just watched 2 movies.
We just unconsciously hung out with each other.
Yeah. But then if she's really enjoying the movie, it was quality time. Like if she's really quality time is not necessarily Batman or Fast and Furious, but if it's like whatever she wants to watch, it's probably quality time.
Grey's Anatomy or something like that.
Yeah, ridiculous. These ridiculous rules. It's so yeah, like we're going out to the I'm taking some of my readers out to see the Steve Jobs movie tonight. So we're going to go meet up downtown, go to the theater, Connection, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Meet with some of these readers and we're going to go out to the movie. And I asked her, like, hey, do you want to come to the movie with us? You might as well come. She's like, I don't want to hang out with him. That's not quality time with you. That's you and your readers. I'm like, but we'll be together. We'll sit next to each other. I'll buy you popcorn when you want. So it's always just like these little rules.
Little bids, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how about this? And you do that. Yeah, I get it.
Do you want to go to the zoo? What do you want? I don't understand you. Like, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
So why get married after 5 years? Like, what was the impetus? Did you always know you're gonna get married, or like?
Oh, I pretty much always knew.
Yeah.
So we were together. I mean, we support each other wildly. Like, we help each other with our goals, and she's very complimentary. So I'm very like realistic, and she's like kind of dreamer when it comes to like everyday stuff. and it's good, man. It's good. She reminds me to relax sometimes. Like she's a balance coach. She's all into spirituality and meditation coaching and Ayurvedic healing and all that stuff. So I wasn't into any of that stuff. I was like Donald Trump, like
surprising because your brand though,
power,
your brand
hustle, like all that.
Your brand
stuff,
is so inspirational though. You'd think that you'd be into that stuff more.
I think deep down inside I probably was, but she kind of opened the doors a little bit more for me to see, you know, the spiritual side. And yeah, since I brought it into my life, man, I have felt more balance for sure. Another thing as well is like it's cool business wise. This is a good thing, you know, with having a female partner is them stepping in sometimes and being like, oh, what about the women? Like, you know, like she called me on it. Like, she's like, oh, your podcast, you've got like I think I had like close to like 60 episodes. And she's like, you don't have any women in there. And then I'm looking at my analytics and like 60% of my audience is female. And I'm like, man, I just did not like, you know, notice that. I just kept interviewing people that I thought would be cool for it. And then, just things like that, man. She points things out and she's like, oh, you know, this looks cool, that looks like funny, or that looks creative, whatever. She's creative, man. And it's good. It's good to have someone there that can kind of compliment you in the areas that you might lack in sometimes.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday, Sarah and I were talking, and one thing we were talking about was how like, what were we exactly saying? We were saying, it's looked upon like poorly for men to have female traits, but for females to have male traits like logic and strength and like grit, that seemed to be like more encouraged, whereas like a feminine trait of being like understanding, empathetic, you know, soft in some ways is like looked down upon.
I see.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, but I think sometimes you can really benefit from like having the female perspective on things, you know.
Yeah, it's a female masculine energy, man. You know, it's good to tap into either or. It doesn't mean it has to be one or the other.
Yeah,
it's good to have a mix, man, for sure.
Do you think that it's best to have a partner who's like who complements you in terms of like she's more spiritual and you're more like business minded, or do you think it's more beneficial to have someone who's like just like you?
I don't know, man. To be honest, I haven't really thought about it. I mean, I know I can't speak from my own experience, but I've seen couples that they're both like gun ho.
Like ever watch House of Cards? It's a show on Netflix.
I've seen the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's like just power couple. Just they're both animals, and they're just complete hustlers, and you know they're just evil people together.
Yeah.
You know, there's that type of balance.
Well, I've seen 2 good couples together, man, and they are, you know, they're both hustlers, and that works really well. But what happens is when you're both hustlers, then you kind of like one's feeling like the other one's out hustling, and it becomes this thing of maybe this person will get bored if I'm not hustling enough, and it'd be like that kind of thing. That's, you know, I mean, that could come up, but for the most part, man, I think you can take the best from everyone, man. Everyone's got something to offer each other. Like, you know, Charlene's awesome because she has that spiritual aspect and the balance and all that. But, you know, I might have a friend next to me that's like a hustler, you know, and I can get that kind of support from him or whoever else, you know. So, yeah, it's people, man. It's good to keep good people in your network, have good people around you, people that support you, and also call you out on like when you're being a bit of a fake too.
And you have to have friends who like honestly will tell you if you're fucking up.
Yeah, but in a nice way.
Yeah. Have you read Way of the Superior Man by David Data?
A long time ago, and I listened to the audio
I read it once a year to just like refresh me.
That's great.
And it's really good. And one of the things he talks about is having like a core group of, in this case, men, but it could be anybody really, but men who will like check you, who will be like, you know, you come to them with like a real problem you're having, and they like give it to you straight, and then you follow their advice.
Straight, no chase.
Yeah, because sometimes you're in your own head, and you can't see what would actually be a benefit to you or what would actually hurt you, because you're so in your own head about, you know, you're getting your emotions mixed up with your business. You're not really sure which way you should go. Have a group of friends who you can just like lay out a question to, and they'll give you the right answer.
I feel like that's for single men, man, because like I got a wife and she gives it to me straight, no chaser all the time.
I know. Yeah, especially when you don't want to hear it, you're like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So what's the vision? Like we talked about like having a vision above goals. What's the vision for the company in the next few years? How are you going to get there? What's going to happen?
Yeah, great question, man. So the vision is 2 million in revenue within the next year, and half of that will be given away.
Wow.
Right.
You're a nicer guy than I thought.
And
Where are you gonna give it to?
oh, actually, I was speaking with Adam Braun.
Cool.
Recently, and I'm really behind his whole like building the school thing. You know,
that's
so
really cool.
we might look at building a bunch of schools. This is 25,000 just to build a school.
It's not bad.
In a disadvantaged area around the world. So yeah, so maybe something like that. Charlene and I have something that we're working on as a non-profit thing as well out in Myanmar, together with her foundation. So yeah, there's a number of things. A lot of it's about giving back, man. Like, you know, I believe in like giving and taking. Like, you know, like taking in the sense of like asking for favors, but also creating a win-win situation.
Yeah.
A lot of people, like a few years back, I was really scared to ask for anything, man. I used to just give all the time.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes something out of you after
you.
a while, you know. It drains you and you feel like you don't have the value there. So it's good to kind of, you know, be connected with people where you can, it's a give and take. You help each other out, you cross promote and things like that. So it's going to be a lot of that. Personal brand is going to be blowing up big time. I'm writing my book right now, doing YouTube videos. We understand the importance of YouTube now, right? Video content. Event space in the future. I don't want to call any dates on that because it's not something you just jump into willy-nilly. It's something you really plan, which we talked about before this podcast too. Yeah, man, just keep expanding the team, you know, bringing people on board, stimulating some employment in this country.
Same. Yeah, I think one of the important or one of the interesting things about giving versus taking is what I realize is I consistently all the time notice that when I am more generous, I always get more back, and it's not always from the same person.
Yeah,
but like
it's funny, isn't it?
I will sometimes, if I even feel like a smidgen of doubt that, oh, maybe I shouldn't help someone out or maybe I shouldn't give, I just do it anyway to see what happens, and I almost always get a return. Like always, it's freaky how it works like that. I'm trying to think of a specific example. Okay, I mean a simple example. Like I was this was like a few weeks ago. I was driving down on Lincoln, down in LA, and I stopped at a Starbucks to get a coffee or whatever. And there was a lady outside, and she was like, you know, can I have money for a coffee? Can I have money for a coffee? She had a sign. I'm like, okay, fine. So all I had was a 10. I'm like, oh, this is definitely, you know, okay, whatever. I'll just give her a 10. Doesn't matter. That's what I had. That's all the cash I had on me.
Yeah.
And no, I think it was a 20. That's why it bothered me. It was a 20. All I had was a 20. I'm like, well, I'm not going to give her nothing or a 20. Yeah. I'll just give her a 20. Whatever. Nice, like, I can do it. It's not going to like kill me. It's not going to like break my bank. It probably will help her out a lot. And also, even if she's going to do, people don't give because like, well, what if they go buy drugs or alcohol with it? I don't care. That's her choice. Like, you just decide what you want to do with it. But I'm just going to give you that. That's my act of giving has nothing to do with what you're going to do with it. Just me. That's for me.
Yeah.
So I gave it. And then I remembered, I was like, all right, well, whatever, you know, that money is gone and I hope she does something good with it. And then the next day, I was driving and I just was not paying attention and my car ran out of gas in the middle of the road, and some dudes like came and they helped me to like wheel the car into the gas station in the middle of the road. Like they stopped traffic for me. They even had cones in their car. They blocked off traffic for me and helped me move the car into the gas station. And I was like, that's really unusual because in LA people will just drive around you and curse at you. But like dudes hopped out in the middle of the freeway to help me. A
little reciprocity.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like I know it sounds woo woo, like oh yeah,
full circle, man.
You know, circle of life, secret type of shit. But I can't help but think, you know, like when you give good stuff away, you usually get good stuff back.
For sure.
All the time.
I think a lot of it works on an unconscious level.
Yeah.
You actually feel happier. People want to be around you. People want to be around happy people. They don't want to be around people that are like sad and depressed, unless they feel sad and depressed too, because misery, you know, it loves company, right?
I've seen that video. That video. It's called "This Is Water" by David Foster Wallace.
No, I haven't.
I'll show you it after the show. But it's but basically, yeah, it's like the energy that you're going to put out. It affects the way people talk to you, and so you have to be really cognizant of what you're giving to people, because you're going to affect them. And everyone's frustrated in their own way. Everyone's at the grocery store, and you know, they just want to get home because they just worked 10 hours. Their kid is on the basket screaming. You know, like, you know, their bills are due. Like, everyone is having a bad day, but you could be the person that's like, hey, you know what? I really like your outfit today. It looks great. Why can't you do that? Like, why can't you be that person? And then notice that when you say like, hey, you know, your hair really looks gorgeous today. Notice that like they light up, and when they get happy, you're like, oh, I did a good thing. Good for me. It is a little bit selfish. There is a little bit like when you give someone a compliment, there is an element of like self-serving to that because you know that when they feel good, you feel good.
It feels good, yeah.
But it's still helping the world.
The thing as well, it's important to hardwire that into your character to be a good person. And it's funny actually. Gary Vaynerchuk was saying that he brought this guy along to this like event or some kind of like intimate party event thing. And there was a bunch of guys in the room that were all top Silicon Valley, like startup founders that were worth like hundreds of millions or whatever. And he introduced this guy to the other guys and they're like, oh, hey. And like, he kind of didn't talk to this other guy. Like he was off to the side. A year later, that guy is a founder of Uber. He's worth more than all those guys in the room combined.
Fuck you.
But they were just like, they didn't like have any interest in who he was or whatever. It's just funny. And that's why it pays to be good. You never know, man. Like, you know, I've talked to people on planes and all sorts of places and find out later like what they do, and we ended up, you know, helping each other out.
Yeah.
And like without even expecting absolutely anything. It's just connecting with people. So everyone's got a story, man, and some stories are amazing. You can learn a lot from them.
It's hard. It's hard to unplug the like selfish reptile brain from always looking for a return. Like if I talk to them and they like me, if they like me, they might give me something later. I might make some money off that. Yes, that's good. Yeah. But like, just relax. Just be a good human being. Generally speaking, good things happen to you.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, cool, man. I appreciate you being on the show,
dude. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, it was incredible. Any like, well, first of all, where can we find more of your work?
More of my work, addictedtosuccess.com with the number 2. All right.
I have such a plan with my website too. Right.
There you go, right? So addictedtosuccess.com. I am Joel Brown on my Instagram, on my Twitter. Joel Brown A2S on Facebook. Yeah, and I'm on YouTube too. So just Joel Brown. Look it up and you see a lot of content on there. That's pretty much it.
Cool, bro. Peace out. Cue the music.
All right.
Oh, wait. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel as well, because we're starting to do the whole YouTube thing. Like, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're following us, all that stuff. It's very important. It helps our ego.